Hey everyone, it's Gus here, and today I'm back in the second episode of this little vlog that's documenting the process of making my comic project, and today I'm going to talk about the second step of any comic project. After you craft the story, you got to get the designs down. I'm going to tell you how I went through the entire design process for both characters and environments. Let's get into it. So a comic book is about telling stories visually, using visual languages to communicate the story you want to tell. And to do that, you need to define what the important elements look like. That's called design. Design is about getting a visual representation that's communicating something. In my case, I did it in two phases, like I already said in the intro. First, the characters, and second, the environments. I didn't in this case do any prop design, I just kind of improvised on the fly the few ones that were important, like the skateboards of the different characters. It might have been beneficial to do it, but I felt like it was just a little bit unnecessary to go that far. Plus I was just way too impatient to get into the actual illustration of the comic book. So here are just some of the characters I designed, some of the method I used to design them. Let's go! Okay, so for this step of the process, we're gonna hop in my beautiful red sketchbook right here, where I did all of the design work. And boom! That is the first draft try I had at designing the main character. I had him in mind for quite a while to have that sort of a haircut with like the little hairy things like this. I don't know the word, I'm gonna look it up and put it on the screen right now. But I also sort of messed up with other haircuts, like a really short hair I didn't really like. And that one that is so light just for a little bit, like I thought it looked cool, but it didn't really feel like the character I was going for. So I did this quick sketch. Wow, that leg looks really ugly. Yeah, I did that sketch, but it looked really good, but it didn't look like Mike. That's the name of the main character. So I liked it, but I thought two things. The haircut, probably not, and the aesthetic, I'm gonna mix it up a little bit for like how the limbs look and everything. It just looked a bit generic to me. Then I jumped to the page. And here I started to define the aesthetic a bit more, going for more cartoony proportions and everything. And also going for different shapes in the limbs, like this little pop in the forearms to really give that dynamism to everything. And those really skinny legs that are gonna contrast heavily with him when he wears his like big coat on top. Having these two skinny legs are really gonna give that contrast that I'm after and make him feel like he has just hidden inside of it. So overall, that was just defining the aesthetic, but I still was unsure about the haircut, so later on I just settled for that design with these little hairy things with like pearls on the tip of them of different colors to give him sort of that vibe that he's a creative guy. That big coat that I'm going to begin the actual comic bigger than this because I think this is a little bit small. And this overall just chill attitude, I thought it worked really well. These are just a couple of sketches with of him with a hood on, and this is like the same pose I did with the other haircut, but no more like it was this aesthetic applied to it. And then for the other characters, Dre. This guy is like Mike's best friend. Fun fact, the name Dre, I had no idea how to name this guy when I got done with the design. But at the time I was listening to a song from Dr. Dre, so I just decided, fuck it, he's Dre. So I started with the left page. Basically that's what design is, you just sort of throw shit at a wall and see what sticks. That's basically it. I had the vibe of the character in mind and a couple of ideas how to communicate it. Just had to organize them. He was like that sort of big chill dude. So it could be like round shapes for the face, kinda good. A bit of a more longer approach that just looks so wholesome, but it wasn't really it. And then he came up with this really like square face, and I kept messing around a little bit more with like shape language and everything. And hey, I just defined it a little bit more. He's a grapher, so you can't really see it because it's a weird sketch, but he has like a marker in his pocket at all times. I think it's a cool touch. I'm gonna make it more obvious in the comic. And he just has that overall like wholesome vibe in his shape language and everything, and that's like a spray can. And here's him with a beanie, that's like the back of his head, and that's another facial expression. So yeah, I don't like get actually really like refined illustrations for my design process. I just get a couple of sketches of some stuff that's important, like his shoes and everything. This is Momo, like the really confident guy at the skateboard our protagonist looks up to. Actually, I had that design in my sketchbook for a while. So I just ripped off the page and rolled with it. Like, I drew this guy, I think it was like a couple months ago. And he, surprisingly enough, still holds up. So I sort of just took that and I got familiar with the design a little bit more again, and that's what I came up with. So it has that like fancy jacket with a thing around the neck. Well, that one looks ugly in the sketch. Yeah, whatever. And this like headset to listen to music. He has this big cargo pants, big like military type shoes, and that like cap he wears the other way you're supposed to. And these like big chunks of hair. I don't know the name of it either. And she just overall has a very confident vibe. The only thing I didn't keep from the original design is the big eyebrows. That went for Mike, the main character, because he was actually supposed to be the main character, so the big eyebrows just sort of translated to the actual main character. And that's how you can get ideas from basically anywhere. It could be like from a song you're listening to, or from a very old sketch. That's Momo's buddy. I just called him Stupid Dude because he's kind of a stupid dude. I should probably contrast that a bit more. Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna get a name for him, and he's just the guy that's kind of loud and a bit of a, like, he gets across as a bit of a jerk. So for the design, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted him to be like sort of bulky and have like a prehistoric motherfucker's face with like a small cranium base and a big chin. These guys I wasn't really happy with. I tried like the haircut kind of like Flash in the cartoon Spectacular Spider-Man, because he's supposed to have like a Spider-Man Flash vibe. That's kind of a joke, but he's actually a nice guy. But it didn't really end up working. And that one I settled with like the big sort of prominent lips and big chin. The sort of like hair on his chin, even though he's like not old enough to actually grow a mustache. I think it's just kind of funny. And he has a skull here to indicate that he's still like, we don't really know a whole lot about him. And overall I think the design turned out pretty well. And here's like a full body shot. He has a little bit of a belly, but he overall has a quite strong frame. He has knee pads, because you know he does skateboard too, and a bit of a shoulder pad to indicate he might have some relationships with like gang vibes and shit. And just a random hoodie with a skull on it. I also indicate a lot of things like on this by like writing down on the side of my sketches, like he upturned nose, imposing frame, head taller than everybody else. Shoulder pad, hoodie with skull. I really like doing that when I'm designing, just to keep organizing my ideas. And now that I had all the main characters, I just drew some background guys. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about them in a minute, but I just really liked the overall vibe of these guys. They're supposed to be like background guys that hang out in the skate park or something. This guy's just vibing. I love this guy. And this one, I just think he is so funny. Like, just look at how he wears his shirt. That's not how he wears a shirt, but I just think it's really funny. And all of them just kinda chill. Okay, now that you've seen all that, I'm gonna tackle the subject of reference images, because obviously enough, I use quite a lot of them. And I know, if you have been like watching our YouTube videos for any period of time at all, you probably know that A, referencing isn't stealing, which makes sense, but I'm gonna repeat it once again. If you're a beginner and you just draw from your imagination, you're not gonna do that much progress. Referencing is good for both practice, like practice by studying some cool stuff you know about, like some cool comics you have or something. And also for design, because design, like I already said, is about communicating something. Seeing how other artists solve similar creative problems might help you come up with cool ideas and organize these cool ideas together to get a good visual language. A good place to head to if you want to get some good reference images is Pinterest. If only mine wasn't just full of fucking junk. Holy shit! Okay, apart from the epitome of cursed images that has happened on my Pinterest, completely out of my control obviously, it's not because I like every one of them. This is a pretty damn good place to get not only photo reference, but also artworks from other artists, because that helps you get like what the actual thing you're looking for looks like for example 90s fashion in my case, and how other artists stylize it to help me get some ideas. Here's an example. What I was just talking about is how you can get ideas from reference images, and I actually got this one reference image that I'm gonna pop out in the screen somewhere. that gave me ideas from these two guys. So you can see in the reference image, he's like wearing his shirt in a bit of a weird way, like it opens up towards the bottom. Just like this guy, and that's how I get the idea. He could like not even have his hands in the sleeves properly, just in his pockets. And I thought he turned out like incredibly funny. And then the face, I just took the face, tweaked it a little bit more, and made it like mine, like this. And then came up with that guy with a weird shape language I messed around with, and then he has just this weird looking proportions, and I think it looks pretty cool too. So that's demonstrating really quickly how you can get cool ideas from reference images without like being completely unoriginal. Like these are still ideas I got myself, but like it was another artist who sparked the solution to the creative problem I was facing in my mind, so that I could then come up with something cool. And now onto the second part I struggle a lot more with, the environment design. And now onto the environment design, the painful part I struggle with a lot more than I thought I would. So it's composed mainly of just really rough sketches because I didn't render a lot of things. I literally rendered like 2 things that I kept. There were a lot of ugly things that I didn't keep, but anyways, it's mostly just rough sketches to get in my head how the volumes look. This is the interior of Mike's house. There's a rough plan of everything. Like, we don't see any of this ever. Actually, we don't see any of this ever, like of the entire thing, because I ended up scrapping it. There's like his room and the like place you get into the house from. Just a really rough plan of where is everything. This is a shot from like the entrance door. It's very, very, very rough. If you didn't, like, I'm probably the only one that can actually read it because I drew it, but that's what it's meant to be. Here is another one with a sketch of his room and everything. Yeah, it's all very rough. A little bit more readable, sort of. There you go. Then this is the skate park. You get a bit of an upshot of the plane. I messed around a lot with where the different geometrical elements were supposed to be. Oh, that guy got the trip. But mostly this design was supposed to be for practicality, like allow the stunts that I want to happen with the like the right sort of geometry for like the jumps and the swings and shit. And this is a sketch that I didn't end up rendering of the overall vibe of the place. And other like different little elements at the bottom. So again, this is like really, really rough because I simply don't like drawing cityscapes very much, but I forced myself with this little sketch of a Brooklyn-style street. I always just quite love like the architecture of Brooklyn with like these little metallic things on the walls, the heavy usage of brick. These little like signs I thought were cool. Streetlights, a couple graffitis. I really like these little stony things. I don't know if they got an actual name, but I think they were funny. You got a Brooklyn Bridge in the background to sort of situate yourself in a somewhat realistic environment. And a couple of funny Easter eggs like that little bird. That's actually fucking indicated by the sign, I just thought it was funny. And the Nike store, but it's Nike, I don't know. I just had no idea what to put here, and I thought that would be a pretty funny thing. So there it is, that's the first sketch I rendered because I didn't do a lot of like actually finished concept art. And that one I rendered a lot less actually is the skate park again. I simply like inked it in like 5 seconds because I was bored of doing cityscapes, but same thing. It's not perfect, far away from it, but it fulfills its purpose to have little subtle references to real world things. Like that's a reference to a Banksy artwork. That's handsome Squidward. And just set a vibe for the story to take place in. So I didn't do anything perfect because I'm not good at environment design, but I fulfilled the purpose. Defined the vibes. I got something I can draw the comic from, and define the practicality of the actual environments. And that's about it. So, as you can see, this is a big majority of just really rough sketches to get ideas out of my head and onto the paper, just the different volumes and how the environments look like so that I can illustrate them later, and just a couple more refined sketches to define the vibe a little bit more. So the environments are here to serve two different purposes in my story. First, set a vibe for the entire story to take place in, and second, to be used by the characters to express themselves in the context of the story, like doing parkour and skateboarding or graffiti that's on the actual environment. That's the two purposes they serve in my specific comic. They might serve a lot of different purposes in other artworks, in other comics. Like, I don't know, if you do something about rock climbing, it's about overcoming challenges and everything. It might serve very different purposes, depending on what story you want to tell. It's very important to define what you want to achieve with your environments before you get into designing them. Because like this, you'll have a clear aim, and you'll know not only when it's good, but when to stop designing, like when you already have fulfilled your thing. And it'll stop you from just getting into the cycle of doing endless design work without even getting into the comic. That's not really achieving anything. To be honest, maybe I have gotten a little bit too far in not doing too much because I really haven't done that much environment design for that project. Maybe I should have done it a little bit more, I don't really know. But that's history, I don't give a shit now. I'm into the illustration. I already have 2 panels that are fully good right now, little update. But anyways, for the environment design, this is, like I said, the part I struggled the most with. I am not good at drawing cityscapes. Why did I set the story in a city then? Because it was the best vibe to tell that story, and because I wanted to challenge myself, and I did. I had to push myself quite a bit to come up with the ideas and draw them, and even in the illustration process. But it's definitely a lot of fun to see sort of my improvements, and I actually quite like my establishing shot, like of the second page. You'll see it in the final product. I think it's quite good, and it's a quite good cityscape drawing. So the key here, if you're just struggling with the thing, is to have a clear aim and to keep on trying. I know this sounds lame. You know why? Because it's what you don't want to hear. It's the unsexy answer, but it's true. There is no magic answer to like wait for your motivation to come back or just, oh, inspiration is gonna hit. No, just keep on doing what you're doing. There's no magic that's just gonna instantly help you to get your stuff done. You're the only one that can get your stuff done. So even if it's kind of annoying, if drawing buildings is boring, if you prefer drawing mountains or characters, it's something you need to do. So define the limit of it so that you don't feel that overwhelmed. I needed like some stuff of the streets to have a good vibe, some stuff of the skate park, the 2 main things, and maybe rough sketches of the interiors. 3 objectives. I kept showing up for myself. It was drawing way longer than I expected it to be because I was still lazy, but I did it. And that's what matters. Now I could move on to the stuff I actually like doing. And hey, I didn't show you how many cityscapes, designs, and even pretty nice refined sketches, like how awful a lot of them were, because I did a lot of them that were just really ugly. I showed you a lot of like my really rough, scribbly sketches. I showed you the little good stuff I got, but I didn't show you like all the ugly fucking things that I just ended up throwing away. You're not gonna get something that's perfect instantly. That just makes sense. I had to learn that again myself. You are never done learning the basics, apparently. But yeah, I designed a lot of really ugly stuff, and I just ended up throwing it away. But I just kept on going, and eventually it worked. This is a pretty big weak point I have, cityscapes, and also just organizing like perspective things in general, and that really worked on that weak point quite a lot. And now I can see some progress, and I think even if it's boring, I'm gonna keep on practicing doing cityscapes to like actually get good at it. Who knows, when I'll be good, maybe I'll even like drawing it or something, I don't know. So by just keeping showing up for myself and just keep on trying, I not only worked on that weak point, but I also got not something that's perfect, but I got something that I can actually draw the comic from, and that's what design is supposed to be. Well, looks like it's all I got time for today, folks. So to wrap it up, this design process was a little bit tedious at times, but overall quite fun. You need to keep that in mind. Design is inherently really fun to keep organizing your ideas. So if you're tackling a bigger project, like I think 20 pages is fine, but something bigger like 50-page comic, maybe keep some of the design stuff that's going to be really fun because it's inherently really playful for later down the line where your motivation will not be as high as at the start. For me, just 20 pages, I could do everything at the start so that I could have a good foundation and have fun at the beginning. But if you're tackling something a lot bigger and there's like one character that shows up in the last, 5 pages, that's gonna be really fun to design, maybe keep it from when you need it and to give you a bit of a new spark of fun and motivation when you design it. Anyways, I just hope this sort of behind the scene kind of content of a dumbass dude trying to make a comic helped you. I had some fun doing it, and I'm gonna catch you in the next week's episode. See you then. Anyways, until next time, keep on improving, have fun, and have a very pleasant rest of your day. Peace.